So today's topic centers on Luther Campbell, better known as Uncle Luke, who has some long-standing tension with former NBA star Alonzo Mourning. According to Luke, the two have history dating back years, tied to claims involving Mourning's youth center, where it's been alleged, though not something Luke says is well documented publicly, that some kids from the surrounding area were denied access to the facility. Luke has said that situation ultimately pushed him to build his own youth center for kids in Broward County, specifically to serve inner-city youth who he felt needed that access. Now, what's reportedly drawing Luke's frustration today isn't that old history directly, but rather Alonzo Mourning's connection to Debbie Wasserman Schultz. For context, Wasserman Schultz served as chair of the Democratic National Committee from 2011 to 2016, though the specifics of that role aren't something we're diving deep into here. Instead, we're focusing on what exactly has Luke upset with the former Miami Heat and Charlotte Hornets star this time around. Let's get into it and break down exactly what's being said.
Gentlemen, I hate to agree with Donald Trump, but on this one, I gotta agree with him. These career politicians, Democrats that I've always supported, in my congressional race, they are really cheating. One of the candidates, she has people knocking on seniors' doors, telling these seniors that they will take their ballot to the box. Opening up the ballot, changing the vote, and dropping it in the box. They call them ballot harvesters. I never even know this even existed. See, I'm a career politician in this race. And I always said everything Trump says is a lie. He's making excuses. But he's right. These people do rig elections. They're literally going to seniors' house, and you can look at it on the data machine as to who voted and who didn't vote. So they're going to these seniors' houses, knowing that they do not have the resources to get in the car or the time to go and vote. Hold on, let me just say this here. Alonzo Mourning, I thought we buried the hatchet a long time ago when you and your organization would not let the kids of Overtown in your Overtown Youth Center. And I then had to go to Joe Ariola, who's the city manager of City of Miami, and get $26 million to rebuild Gibson Park and put a gymnasium right next to your building because you wouldn't let the kids in there. I called you out then. Now you are doing the same thing over again, my brother. You're supporting Debbie Wasserman in a congressional race that I'm in. I don't care how you feel about me, but the mere fact that this lady is trying to erase an African-American seat that has been held by African-Americans for over 30 years. But you're doing it for $1, my brother. Because we know you hang around with the developers and you go apart, do your little development thing and put schools in all these areas and all that. And that's what you're trying to do in Broward County. Because you have no alliance. You've never been to Broward County. Last time I know, my brother. That's why I don't like you people who ain't from here. Y'all come here and try and take advantage of a situation because you play ball here, but you are really not for the community. I don't fuck with you, man. Never, never. Ain't no hatchet buried. I wish you hurry up and leave. Go back to Virginia where you come from.
Let's take a moment to lay out the key context needed to fully understand this situation. Luther Campbell, known widely as Uncle Luke, is actually running in the Democratic primary for Florida's 20th congressional district, putting him in direct competition with Debbie Wasserman Schultz, along with a handful of other candidates. Given his own background and history in the region, Luke would argue he holds a deeper, more personal connection to the community, having grown up there himself, and in his eyes, that gives him a stronger tie to the area than Alonzo Mourning, despite Mourning's own long-standing presence and involvement in South Florida over the years. That said, a significant portion of the reactions circulating in the comment sections has actually pushed back against Luke's frustration, with a lot of people questioning the logic behind being upset at Mourning for backing Wasserman Schultz in the first place. Their reasoning centers around the fact that Mourning and Wasserman Schultz reportedly have a relationship dating back to around 2003, right around the time Mourning opened the Overtown Youth Center, a project that Wasserman Schultz is said to have supported early on during its development. Given that kind of history and support, many argue it isn't surprising at all that Mourning would continue backing someone who played a role in helping bring his community vision to life in the first place. Luke's broader argument, though, goes beyond just this one relationship. He's pointed out that this particular congressional seat has historically been held by Black representatives, and he views Mourning's public support of Wasserman Schultz, including appearing alongside her in campaign settings, as working directly against that legacy. There's also a personal layer to this for Luke, since he reportedly feels a sense of betrayal here, especially given that he and Mourning had previous friction that Luke believed had been fully resolved between them. But as the counter-argument goes, resolving a personal conflict with someone doesn't automatically guarantee political loyalty down the line, and those are really two separate things entirely. To be clear, this isn't meant as a personal attack on Mourning, it's more about illustrating how shared history, or even reconciliation between two people, doesn't necessarily translate into political backing when it matters. And naturally, given some previous public accounts describing Mourning's demeanor in certain interactions, opinions about him personally are already fairly split among fans and community members alike. On top of all that, Luke has also brought up the fact that Mourning isn't originally from South Florida, floating the idea that he could simply return to Virginia, which is where Mourning is originally from, essentially questioning his standing to weigh in on local political matters at all. That naturally raises an interesting question of its own. Would Luke feel any differently about this situation if Mourning had instead chosen to publicly support and campaign for him instead of Wasserman Schultz? It's also worth pointing out that Mourning maintains ties to the Miami Heat organization, and given his existing personal and professional relationship with people connected to Wasserman Schultz's circle, some are questioning why Luke would have expected unwavering loyalty from Mourning in this specific race to begin with. Again, this isn't necessarily a knock against either side of the argument, it's simply pointing out that the underlying logic behind expecting that kind of support isn't entirely clear-cut, especially once you factor in the practical relationships and business ties already in place. Still, despite this particular setback, Luke brings plenty of reach and influence of his own to this race, and there are certainly other athletes, entertainers, and public figures who could potentially step forward to support his campaign as things continue moving ahead. As for Mourning, given his already established ties within Wasserman Schultz's political and business circles, choosing to align himself with her in this race really isn't all that shocking when you look at the bigger picture. At the end of the day, this entire situation highlights something that shows up often in politics and public life. Personal relationships and professional loyalty don't always move in the same direction, and people can maintain mutual respect for one another while still landing on opposite sides of a political decision. Whether you see Luke's frustration as justified or misplaced likely depends on how you weigh personal history against practical business relationships, and that's exactly the kind of debate that's been playing out across social media since this story started gaining traction. Let us know where you land on this one, and be sure to share your own thoughts and reactions down in the comments section below.